Do you want a virtue signal to some people that probably aren't even watching your show? Very small group of people that, yes, they're very loud, but they're very small and aren't spending money. I spend money, you know? Disney should be sucking my dick, you know, to get me to do stuff. Because it's like, you know, now at this point, the way Disney is and how they've operated for a while now, I do whatever I can to avoid giving them money, you know? And it sucks because there are times my kid wants to watch something, and I gotta make the decision, like, do I want to give Disney money, or should I just let my kid watch this and be a kid? And I usually just let them watch it, you know, but that's not the point. You know? Like, you know, if I, you know, go on vacation or something, I'm not going to Disneyland, and I would have loved to, because I grew up in California. I grew up around Disneyland. Some of my best memories I have as a kid are from Disneyland as a kid. But, you know, Disneyland in California in the 80s and 90s was such a different thing than it is today that it's, yeah, I don't even know. I don't even know what they could, you know, there's just nothing they could do to make me want to go back. And I think that's what they want, you know? It's like Vegas. They don't want me there anymore. You know, they want the whales there. They want the rich people, you know? Going to Vegas is fucking crazy expensive. You know, just like going to Disneyland and Disney World is crazy expensive. You know, I remember when I lived out in California, you know, we got certain days where, you know, the price was a little less because we were residents and shit like that. I don't know if they still do that. Probably. I mean, but you never know with Disney, too. Such fucking jerks about everything. They're probably like, we're not doing that. Give California people a discount? Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. So, yeah, man. Kathleen Kennedy's out. Filoni is in. And I don't think that's any kind of an upgrade. Filoni is just as much of a fucking feminist and a, you know, put a chick in it and make it gay type of guy. So, I mean, I'm very skeptical. We'll see how this goes. You know, yes, he did Clone Wars and that was great and all that shit. And that was also 15 years ago. And we'll see. He also signed off on The Acolyte, which was garbage. Sorry. In my opinion. It's all my opinion. You know, you don't ever have to listen to anything I say. It's all my opinion. It's all fucking whatever. So yeah, I don't think that Kathleen Kennedy leaving Disney is any kind of upgrade. I think she fucked Disney. She destroyed it, you know. She destroyed Star Wars, and that's what she's known for. That's what she wants to be known for, too. I don't think there's any... I think she wanted to destroy things that made... You know, she grew up, you know, in the industry around Spielberg and around George Lucas and stuff, and his vision and all that crap, and I think she wanted to do something totally different, and she wanted to shit on that and destroy it, because people like her are just that kind of... Those are, that, you know, they can't build anything. All they can do is destroy, you know, and that's what she did. And she destroyed Star Wars. And she was surrounded by a bunch of yes men that didn't say anything. Never said, hey, what about, you know. So, here we are. I don't think Filoni's going to do any better. I think Favreau would have been okay. But Favreau, you can tell that Favreau is not a bureaucrat, you know. He's not in it for that. He's a purist. He's a purist. He's a Star Wars purist, and he just wants to make Star Wars, good Star Wars. You know, people like Filoni and Kennedy, yes, they like Star Wars, but it's more valuable to them as a vehicle to push a message. The message. Or at least a message, you know? So, that being said, you know, the crappy thing is that, you know, Filoni has last say on whatever, on everything, you know? So even if you know, Favreau makes something good, if Filoni doesn't like it, he can just axe it, you know, so. I didn't hear the news. I don't know if Bob Iger is going to be out. He's another one that's kind of screwed Disney. I don't know. We'll see what Disney does. But it's like all of their shit they've done lately has just, you know, all the DEI bullshit and all the woke bullshit. All the forcing it on people bullshit. You know, all the, you know, we're not hiring you because you're white bullshit. You know, all the stuff they said was going on. All the racism and all that stuff that never really went on to the degree they said it did is what they ended up turning into. They turned into the biggest fucking racist types in the world, you know, and it's ridiculous. So, you know, they should be hiring people based on their merit. I don't give a fuck if they're purple, polka dotted or something, you know, if they're good animator or storyteller or whatever, then they should be getting a job. You know, a lot of people like to say, oh, well, it was racist for a long time, and it probably was, but them days are over. You know, affirmative action's been a thing my whole life. You know, minority preference has been a thing my whole life. And it's like, none of that shit's going to be around when I'm the minority. Like, when I'm, you know, white people are the majority in the country, so it's like, it's not like it's some kind of fucking, you know, magical thing. You know, that more white people will get jobs, you know, than other people or whatever the fuck. That's like saying more Chinese people die than anybody else. And it's like, well, yeah. So hopefully Disney can get past all that, you know, the DEI bullshit, and get back to a merit-based system where it doesn't matter what color you are, and if you're good at the job, you get hired. And we get out of this, you know, mess that we're in. Because I'd hate to see Disney take a shit. You know, I'd hate to see them fall. You know, Disney's been an institution my whole life. And yeah, you know, I don't want to see Disney totally tank, but I'm not going to support it while it actively hates me. You know, they wouldn't hire me because I'm white. I'm not saying they didn't. I'm just saying, you know, why would I support some company that hates me? That if you're a straight white male, you're the worst thing in the world, you know? Why would I give that my money? So, I don't. I give it to Universal instead. Harry Potter, shit like that. And, you know, if I ever go to an amusement park or something, that's what I'm going to do. Take the kid to Universal instead. I think that'd be good. I think Disney can pull it back if they want to. But I think you can also get lost in the progressive echo chamber. You know, I can say this much: if I was a person that was invested in Disney just to make money, I'd be pretty pissed. Because the last, you know, several movies have flopped. You know, they're just burning money on attractions and movies and all sorts of bullshit that nobody asked for and nobody wanted, nobody saw. Like even that Tron, you know, they made a movie Tron without any Tron stuff in it. I don't know. So I don't know what Disney's doing. I think, you know, if they just listened to the fans and gave them what they want, I think they do a lot better. You know, in the areas of Star Wars especially. You know, that's a tentpole franchise. You know, that costs them a lot of money. And, you know, it could make them a lot of money if they did it the right way. But they got to do it the right way. So hopefully they will. You know, because we are entering an age where you don't have to be some big fucking studio. You know, for the longest time, that's what did it. Studios gate-kept movie making, and that's how they were able to make movies and do whatever they wanted. But then, you know, it got too corporate and too greedy, and money became too much of the deciding factor. And don't get me wrong, money's important, you know, but when you're making shit movies because of money, then you gotta reevaluate your situation. You know, that's all. Yeah, that's not gonna be good. How about we'll give him an orange plate. orange plate that they're eating off of. Yeah, there we go. So, hurry up and get on it, Disney. Bring back the good old days of being cool. Making good content and good movies. Good attractions. And hating people under your breath like it used to be done, you know? There's nothing out there that says you gotta fucking like people, you know? But you can't just actively hate people and expect them to keep supporting you. That simple. So, will Disney learn? I don't know. Tune in next week. Will Disney survive their own self-inflicted bullshit? Who knows? Who cares? You know, at the same time, maybe it's time for Disney to check out, you know? Maybe they've just been around too long and they're too big. And it's time to go. You know? Maybe that's what's up. Maybe it's just time to go, Disney. Yep, I like these alcohol markers. They got a nice watercolor effect to them. You know, a little kind of off. We like it. Alright, we're almost done. Color her hair, or maybe we should leave it like that, because she's an old spinster. I think that's what we'll do. And we'll put a little highlight in it, so you can see that she's a old feminist that never got married, because men suck. And yeah, now she's here miserable with a cat that's trying to escape all the time. And that's what's up. All my pens are freaking drying out on me. Okay, there we go. I got enough in this one to get some gray highlights in there. That's all we're looking for, some gray. Alright. I think I'm going to call it good right there, people. There's our finished image. Yay! Colored image. Now, if I took a book, one of my books from my original batch, and I found that one here. Where are we at here? I just pass it up, probably. My luck. Nope. Don't worry, people. I'll find it. There we go. I just passed it up. See, that's all I did. I just took a page out of the book, and I colored it. Yay! So that's what it would look like. So, if you're a publisher out there, help me publish my book. I want to republish it with a different cover. With this cover, I sent it in to Amazon. They said it couldn't be done after they sent me the book. So, I need a smarter person than me to figure it out. In the meantime, everybody, here you go. Finished colored picture. I made it loud as hell because, yeah, that's what I wanted to do. Thanks a lot, everybody. Thanks for swinging by.